What up, world? You already know what time it is. It's your favorite co-host podcast, Pack, back with another episode of Successful Habits. And as always, yet again, I'm here with the man with the plan himself, Coach D West. What's going on with you today, Coach?
Man, I can't call it, man. Taking it day by day. How everything on your end?
Man, not too much different, man. It was a good week so far. If you're watching this episode, you made it to Monday. You know what I mean? I had a pretty good week myself. Honestly though, the last couple weeks been kind of rough. I mean mentally, which we'll get into that in a little bit as we get into the topic for the day. But otherwise, man, I'm blessed, man. I can't complain, man. What about yourself?
And same here as we get closer to basketball season. I just kind of think it's a breath of fresh air. Just being out there and doing something I love to do is kind of like a relief.
For sure, man. They say if you do something that you love, it ain't really work, man. So I can definitely
Yeah, for
relate to
sure.
that for sure, 100%. So before we get into the actual topic for today, which I think it's a really good topic, and I think we both gonna get a lot of enjoyment out of actually discussing the topic. But before we get into that, first and foremost, as always, we appreciate y'all for tapping into the pod. We appreciate the ones, especially appreciate the ones who tap into every single episode, regardless of the topic. And especially if you have been reaching out to us to give us feedback. So, we really do appreciate y'all from the bottom of our heart. So
Yeah.
as always, love to y'all. So before we get into the actual topic today, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts about something. So,
Okay.
you've traveled places to play basketball at many different levels, right? Now, I don't know if while you were off at these different colleges that you attended, if you ever really had the chance to play pickup basketball with people from different states. But since I've been living in San Antonio, it made me realize that people really have like some of the wildest rules for pickup basketball, right? So I give you an example. Depending on what gym you go to here in San Antonio, if you run in fives, depending on what gym you go to, if you even so when you score the game winning bucket, you gotta make a free throw after. If you miss the free throw, you play on.
Yeah, that's college rule.
Okay, so you
That's
so you
college
you
rule.
rocking with that rule.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We do that. We do that
Okay.
here. We brought that here. I got that from college for sure though.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I ain't necessarily against it, but when they told me like
It kind of caught you off
gotta make
guard.
a free throw. What's happening right
Yeah.
now, bro? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that one kind of threw me off guard. Another one, okay. So a question I got for you: when y'all playing pickup five or whatever it is, you win by two, you play straight out
Straight out.
for sure every single time. I'm like that too. I go to gyms, people like win by two, win by two. For me, it's like, bro, get a stop, man. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
can't get a
Yeah.
stop, then it is what it is. But I think for me personally, win by two, that's a cop out, bro. You really, you know what I'm saying? You finna go give me a layup so you can come down here and shoot you a three. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I like straight out. I like straight out for
Now
sure.
the $1,000,000 question, what I really want to get your feedback on. Ones. When you playing ones, give me your rules when you playing ones.
Like as far as like just random ones.
Just ones in general. Like me, I don't know how often you play random ones, but like
Like
just ones in
yeah,
general.
I know. No, I'm saying like when I say random ones, like you mean like just like going to the gym, like a random
Yeah,
gym,
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
you mean
Facts.
like setting up a 1v1 versus a homeboy type of deal?
Either one, either one.
I say gang go to five, all ones, three dribbles.
Okay. Yeah. See, I'm a three to four dribbles depending on the level of competition. Like if I know we
Yeah,
ain't, you know what I'm saying, if I know we just in here having a good time, then we can go four dribbles.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not going 30 second worth of move.
So then my $1,000,000 question is this. Do you allow rebounds or is one shot?
Bro, we not playing no rebounds, bro. You get one shot, bro.
You get one shot, bro. That's what I be trying to tell people, bro. When you play one, fam, it's one shot. Cause the
Yeah, it's one shot, bro.
argument is, you know, you gotta go get your rebound. Like, bro, that's not what we
No.
doing right now, fam.
Hey,
I'm
past
not
fifth grade, bro, is one shot,
like,
bro.
come on, bro. I'm not trying to like, we're not testing who can hustle
I'm
the
not
hardest
boxing
right
you
now.
out, bro.
Come on, bro. Like, and then it's always the person who this man. I know you on 10, bro. Your motor is different, bro. You gonna get every
Yeah.
rebound, bro. Like, relax. We just trying to get
He
get
can't
some.
shoot, so he get out the board.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's shooting threes, and before he even let go of the ball, he already running to the rim. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro.
Yeah, fact.
But I was thinking about that today because I was talking to one of my homies about our pickup games in San Antonio, and that just crossed my mind. Like, People. It's so many. It's funny how it's depending on where you are in the country or where you are in the world. I'm sure people across the world got different rules, but like how different the rules are when it comes to like pickup basketball. I always find that really interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so without further ado, we can go ahead and get into the topic of the day. I just wanted to pick your brain about that one. I'm sure people
I'm
are.
not gonna lie, like pickup pickup rules are kind of universal, but like once I went out to another state, like when I was here, when I left my senior year, that's when like I started to do the make a free throw to seal the game.
Yeah,
Like, you
for
know what
sure.
I'm saying? Like once I like that was in Kentucky, Texas, these are basketball states.
Yeah, for
So like
sure.
when you go there, their rules kind of different. Like
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
like we playing there, it's like, oh, okay, like and I kind of adopted it and I brought it back here. So when we play pickup at the school, it's like make a free throw to win.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure. I think the highest
yeah,
level pickup I ever played was we had a shot clock and everything in there. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
that's tough,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That was some good.
And see, I like games like that. I think that's the one thing, and I might have said this before, but that's the one thing high school should implement. Like,
Yeah,
you
for
need a
sure.
shot clock. Like, you getting kids ready to go to college. Like, you need a shot clock. Like, get them ready.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely probably the best bump I ever had in my life. Like as far as pickup is concerned, we had a
Yeah.
bunch of overseas players, people transitioning to college, and people who are already stars on their college team. So that was some good work for sure, for sure. But cool. So as we transition to the topic of the day, so the thing I wanted to talk about emotional intelligence. 'Cause like I said, these last couple of weeks been rough on me mentally, just because I had a really really rough summer. Was hoping I can get through the end of the year without receiving any more. I ain't gonna say bad news, but without having to overcome some major hurdles. But nevertheless, here we are. So I wanted to talk about emotional intelligence. So when you hear the term emotional intelligence, what does it mean to you?
Emotional intelligence just means, like, to me, just being able to navigate through adversity emotionally wise, right? Because you kind of go through stuff every day. Like, well, not every day, but most of the time. Like, it's crazy because I had a similar conversation with my team today. Like, everybody's fighting their own battle, mentally, physically, whatever the case may be, family. Everybody is, fighting their own battle. And it's like having the emotional intelligence to still wake up and come to your job. As far as for them, it was basketball, come to practice and still be 100%. So, just being able to navigate feelings, being able to, like kind of just fight through, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. That's what it kind of means for me. What does it mean for you?
So for me, emotional intelligence is more so understanding the things that you feel. You know what I mean? Being able to understand the different because as kids, you learn very surface level emotions. So you learn sad, you learn angry, you learn happy. You don't really understand. You're not really taught that there's levels of anger. So there's frustration, that's anger. There's you can be pissed off, that's anger. There's aggressive, that's anger. You know what I'm saying? So for me, emotional intelligence is understanding, like really, really understanding the way that you feel. Not only understanding the way that you feel, but also understanding the things that make you feel this way. So, for example, like your triggers. You know what I'm saying? It also, being self aware, that's a part of emotional intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Understanding your limits, things like that. And we'll get into that here in a second. But self management, so understanding how to manage your emotion, not just understanding what you feel, but understand how to manage those feelings. I think things like sympathy and empathy are also parts of emotional intelligence. So I think emotional intelligence is way more than one thing. I say that for sure, for sure. It's kind of like it's kind of like intelligence in general. You know what I mean? There's more than just one
Yeah.
sort of intelligence, right? Yeah. Well, why do you think, or do you first of all, do you think emotional intelligence gets overlooked? And if so, why do you think so? Like especially when it comes to when you compare it to things like IQ and developing a talent, like people spend a lot of time trying to increase their IQ by studying and by doing different things like that. And same thing with talent. But do you think emotional intelligence gets that same sort of focus? And if not, then why do you think it gets overlooked?
No, because I mean, as a high school kid, you don't really know how to handle emotions at that point. Well, I'm not even gonna just label it to a high school kid,
Right.
like just coming up. Like even older adults don't know how to handle emotion. and oftentimes, like, I'm not perfect. I don't know how to handle emotion.
Mhm.
When I received some bad news recently, like one of the people that I'm close to, so I was headed to basketball practice,
Mhm.
right? And one of the people I was close to, and like I kind of didn't know how to feel. Like it was like I was on the fence, but it was like I still got to push through and go to practice. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like I still got to do what I'm supposed to do for the day. And he was like, it's all right to feel. It's all right to take a breath there. What he say? He said, it's all right to take just a breather and embrace how you feel. Like that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, um, like it's nothing that you can just master overnight. It's something that'll
Agreed.
take time. Like it'll develop over time. So I think it probably does get overlooked, but it is very important, especially like when you're a leader or something. Like because you can't carry your problems on your shoulders all the time. Like, but at
Agreed.
the same time, it is okay to feel away. Like it
Mhm.
is okay to be human. It is okay to have something bother you. And I kind of had to, find a balance in that because it's a tight balance between letting something bother you and affect you and then having to, go put on a show, go be a leader, go coach a
Mhm.
team full of players, you know what I mean? And they don't know what you have going on. Like you can't bring that to them, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's kind of like it's a thin balance, but I think emotional intelligence is something that definitely gets overlooked.
Yeah, I think for me, I think number one, I definitely think it gets overlooked. I think a big reason why it gets overlooked though is a mix between like culture and stigma. So when I say stigma, I mean, I'll just speak on behalf of young men, right? As a young man, you raised to not really have feelings. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, nobody, something I used to preach to my son all the time when he was younger. I mean, he's still young, but younger. And I kind of started to go away from telling him this as much. But a lot of the things I preached to him were always like, you a young man. The world don't care how you feel. You know what I mean? Which is true, but I care how he feels. You know what I mean? He should care how he feels. Because as you go through life and you make relationships with people, those people will care how you feel. They might not necessarily care why you're sad, but if you always angry at them, it's gonna leave questions in their mind. You know what I mean? It's gonna leave lasting impressions. It's gonna, and like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with the culture, because especially in young people of color, bro. That's definitely a thing. Like my dad never really he was never really good with feelings, man. You know what I'm saying? Like he would ask you how you doing today, but what's on your mind. But when you give it to him, he ain't really know how to respond. It was always you'll be all right, suck it up. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that plays a huge role into why it's overlooked.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, also too, like you know, it's you don't really get there's no real tangible benefits from being emotionally intelligent. Whereas if you have high IQ, you're gonna go places with your brain. You know what I'm saying? If you spend a lot of time working on a talent, you know that eventually you'll get somewhere. There's nothing really like that at the end of the road for working on quote unquote work with intelligence.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not something that I think that's one of the hard things to do in life is kind of like, well, I know it's not like this for everybody, but especially for certain people. Like some people, it's harder to express themselves. I know for me personally, like they had to grow on me. Like it's easier for me to just if I don't like the conversation or if I don't like something that's going on, it is by nature easier for me to just okay, I just leave it alone, like just shut down, right? But that's not always the best scenario. But like it's easy for me to do that. The hard thing for me to do is engage in whatever is going on with me, like engage in the problem or, whatever is going on with me at that current state. And it's crazy because I kind of had a talk with my team today, just telling them to kind of embrace the hard things in life.
Mhm.
Like telling them to, the hard things in life only a select amount of people do it. Like the easy thing, it's easy to get up and do what everybody else is doing. It's easy to get up and like let's just say, for example, you have a class with your friends clowning, the teacher can't control them. It's easy for you to join. The
Mhm.
hard thing to do is look the other way, like, nah, I'm good, bro. Like I'm just do my own thing. That's the hard thing to do. Or if you at practice, the easy thing to do when you're tired is not touch the line. The hard thing to do is still push through even when you're tired. So I made a challenge to my team today to just embrace the hard things in life. Because the hard things in life, that's gonna get you closer to whatever it is that you want to be. And it's crazy because I came across a number, and not to get too far off topic, but I came across a number today. So I looked up, it's roughly 537,000 high school athletes right now.
That's a crazy number.
37,000. 18,000 of those athletes go on to play college basketball of
Mhm.
some sort. 18,000. So that's like a certain percent. I can't remember the percent. All right.
That's a small
Then
percent, bro.
that's a small percent out of 500,000.
Yeah.
Then so it's 18,000. Out of 500,000 people, only 5,000 go on to play Division One. That's 1%.
Yeah.
So like though to be in that 1% or that 5%, I think it was, you have to do the hard things in life. Like though to get in those type of numbers, you can't do the easy things. And that relates to, everything you do in life, even if you're not playing sports. Like the easy things in life is gonna get you what everybody else gets. To be in that percent of successful people who go on and achieve their goals or chasing something, you have to be in that top percent. And that top percent, they do the hard things in life, like being consistent with it, whatever they do, whether it's going to the gym, waking up early, staying, you know what I mean? Like they're consistent at whatever it is that they're doing. Yeah, so that's one of those things. Emotional intelligence is one of the hard things in life to do, to embrace that and to still push through. I think, yeah, I think that's a good topic.
So what are some things that you do? Because you say yourself, an easy thing for you to do is if you're having a conversation that is maybe not necessarily going your way, or you can feel the confrontation starting to rise. What are some things that you do in the moment to get better with that kind of stuff?
Well, first I take a step back. Like I take a step back and I kind of reevaluate myself. I
Right.
always look at myself in the mirror. Like, am I the best version of myself right now? So like conversations that I used to get mad at, like I would take a breath, calm myself down, and then reevaluate the situation. Like so, and that's just, my self accountability right now. Like I'm
Mhm.
really intentional about myself, like just being better with conversations, being better with people, learning how to
Mhm.
handle situations. Like I'm really intentional about that. So if a situation does arise, like I kind of reevaluate myself first, regardless of whatever that party is doing. I look at myself first. Like how can I be better in this situation? How can
Yeah.
I help them in this situation? Because like like the easy thing to do, like we were just talking about, like if you're mad, like it's easy for me to get mad,
Right.
right? Because if
Right.
you're mad, you're fussing at me, like it's easy for me to get mad. The hard thing to do is be a man and try to see your perspective.
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
okay, take a step back. Why you mad? You know what I mean? Let's talk about it. Cause that's the hard thing to do. Like, and that just goes to my point. Like the harder things in life, that's where your growth, that's where the growth is.
For sure. I agree with you. So I think kind of to piggyback off what you saying, like in situations like that where, if you're somebody who struggles with, I guess, having certain conversations because you would much rather just leave it alone than actually get into the nitty-gritty of it. It's important to number one, stay present in the moment. I think that a big part of emotional intelligence is being aware, and in order for you to be aware, you got to be present. You know
Yep.
what I mean? But not only do you have to be present, you also have to have some balance of foresight in the sense that you gotta see, is this a conversation that I wanna have later on again? Because a lot of conversations that you leave alone and you just walk away from, you end up having to have them anyway. So is this a conversation that I wanna have again, or is it worth it for me to just, okay, even though this is an uncomfortable conversation for me to have, is it worth it for me to just buckle down and have it now so that we can get it out the way? versus having to continuously revisit the same conversation over and over again. I think that that's a big part when it comes to, you know, that particular aspect of having emotional intelligence. Um, so what are some red flags that show that you are not being emotionally aware yourself? Like, is there anything that in particular you notice that you're doing and you got to catch yourself like, "Oh, okay, cool. Maybe hold on. Let me take a step back. Let me."
Oftentimes, like, I try to make myself not feel away, especially with the news that I received recently. Like, it's natural for me to just make myself not feel a type of way. Like, it's
Mhm.
natural for me to just not embrace the feeling that I'm feeling. Like I said, like I always look myself in the mirror and I ask myself, am I being honest with myself? Cause
Yeah.
like in order for me to be the best version of myself to other people, I had to be the best version of myself for me. Like I have to do this. Like be honest with myself. And like I had to constantly remind myself, like, it's okay to feel some type of way about stuff that bother you. Like it is not in my control. I can't control it, but it's okay for me to feel the type of way. Now I don't want to go into like a sadness drought while I'm
Right.
consistently sad every day.
Right.
But it's okay for me to take some time out my day to really embrace whatever it is going on.
For sure.
Like explain how I feel to someone and or even myself, talk out loud and then, go on with my day. Like that's okay for me to do that. Like I had to constantly remind myself. And it's a constant battle. Like it's a constant battle every day. Like, cause naturally I'm an introvert. So it's like
Right.
every day I push myself outside my comfort zone, like to kind of embrace that. So when I feel myself, cause it's easy for me to just not talk all day, like to
Right.
just, to be to myself all day. That's a
For sure.
natural instinct for me. But like, so when I feel myself doing that, that's when my red flag kick in and I know like, okay, I'm not being my best version of myself right now.
For sure. So for me, so my red flags show up in a little different. Now, when I say red flags, I mean like for me, it's like so me personally, I'm pretty in tune with my emotions. Like, and don't get me wrong, it took me a very, very long time to get to this point to where I know it's okay to feel the things that I feel. I would much rather feel them now, address them now, versus they come back to haunt me later. So for me, my lack of emotional intelligence and self-awareness usually comes in the form of when it's time for me to be empathetic with somebody else. Like in my day-to-day life, oftentimes I find myself having to be a not really a therapist, but for lack of a better term, a therapist to the people who report to me. So one of the red flags that I have is sometimes when people tell me the things that they're going through, my version of being empathetic to them is let me give you an example of something that I'm going through that is kind of similar to what you going through. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Not really realize and for me, it's more so that in my mind, what I'm doing is I want you to understand that I really do understand.
Understand.
But from the other person's perspective, it comes off as a fool, this ain't about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes people just need an ear. They just need you to listen. They don't
One
need you to respond.
100%. So
Yeah.
a lot of times, so that's a red flag for me. When I notice that I'm saying me way too much in a conversation that's supposed to be about somebody else, I gotta catch myself in a moment. And when I catch myself, I typically I'm sorry, bro. I go ahead and finish saying what you were saying. You know what I mean? But that's one of my biggest red flags, and that's something that I'm always having to stay conscious of, so that I can make sure that I'm not. Because, like I said, there's no ill intentions. Like I'm not. I swear, I'm not trying to make it about me. I just, from my perspective, is like this example is only supposed to serve as proof that I trust me when I say I know what you're going through right now. You
Yeah.
know,
For
because a lot of
sure.
times people will tell you, yeah, I know what you mean, I understand, but that's what you're supposed to say. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So my way
But
of
but
go
my
ahead.
question for you is when you catch like, okay, let's say you go through something and you going through a funk. Like how you pull yourself out?
How do I pull myself out?
Yeah.
That's a good one, man. So honestly, man, that's a good question, bro. Because it's so number one, I've conditioned myself over time to never get too high on the highs and too low on the lows.
Yeah, even kill.
Yeah, that's number one. I've conditioned myself to accept the fact that life is a roller coaster. It's gonna always be highs and it's gonna always be lows. There's no getting away from it. Like you're gonna always have patches in your life where you feel like, man, what's happening, bro? Like, can something go right for once? You're gonna always have patches in your life like that. So I think that that's probably one of the biggest things is I pretty much condition myself that way. But then, so I mean, I guess it's kind of like I said, man. I've had a rough last couple last couple of weeks, and honestly, when I say rough, I mean like I've been so worried
Emotional.
about yeah, I've been so worried about, things with family and having to be having to be the strong person all the time, having to figure everything out all the time, having to make sure everything happened the right way. I've been so worried about that. I'm emotionally drained. So like over the past couple of weeks, I've been having like real short patience with everybody, man. Honestly, bro, I've been going to work and I'm there, but I'm absent. You know what I mean? I'm absent minded. You know what I'm saying? So a big thing that I've learned how to do is choose to be present. You know what I'm saying? I choose to have a good day today. I think that for me personally, that works for me. Like I choose to be positive today. I wake up every day and say, you know what, today I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna be present, I'm gonna make sure I talk to everybody. And I don't know, for me personally, if I fake it long enough, I start to actually, you know what I'm saying? I start to actually feel that way. What about you? How do you pull yourself up out of a funk?
I try my best to, well, naturally, I go to the gym or something
Hmm.
like that because, naturally that's just like therapy. Like when you go in there, no matter, I just go, like I go in the gym 8 o'clock at night,
Hmm.
nobody in the gym, just shoot
Yeah,
shots. It kind of just, no, no, it kind of just, that's just my breath of fresh air. But
for sure.
recently, I've kind of learned to, get kind of refocus off relationships.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna give you an example. So recently we received some bad news, and like probably like a day or two, like I was like in the funk for like 2 days, just like I was here, but like I wasn't present in the moment. It was kind of like like a whole bunch of worry, I guess you could say. But one thing that pulled me out, it was just like, so I received a text from one of the parents, and she was like, "Coach, I just want to tell you something." Okay, so I'm gonna explain this player background,
Hmm.
right? He's a good kid, pretty good basketball player, but he has trouble like just focusing on what he need to focus on. He have trouble with just leadership, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. Like he have trouble with, taking it like coaches. Like he had a place in his life where he just having a little trouble right now as far as
Hmm.
teachers,
Yeah.
anybody who has
Yeah.
some authority, he just having a little
Yeah.
trouble.
He's just being rebellious
So
right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the parent texted me and she was like, "Hey, I just wanna tell you something." So I walked in the room the other night and the kid was doing his homework, which that's a plus, but
Yeah, for
he was
sure.
doing his homework and I heard a voice playing in the room. And I told him, "Hey, cut that off. You do your homework." And he was like, "I am doing my homework, mom, but I'm listening to Coach West."
Mhm.
And she was like, "What you mean you listen to Coach West? Y'all on the
For sure.
phone?" And he was like, "Nah, mom, listen to his podcast."
Yeah.
And then she said she took the phone from him because she thinking he lying. And when
Mhm.
she seen it, like it was the podcast. Like he
For
was
sure.
listening to the podcast, doing his homework.
Mhm.
And so she gave the phone back and she kind of texted me and she just was like, it kind of made her night that he actually listened to somebody.
Mhm.
But like she don't even know what that did for me that
For
day.
sure.
Like, cause like I'm going through
Yeah.
my own situation. You know what I'm saying? I'm going through my own stuff. But they don't even know what they did for me at
Yeah.
that point in time. They kind of like revived me, like kind of like, man, like, all right, like, okay, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they kind of brought me back to life. So like I've learned recently to just, rely on like relationships, like rely on that because they can pull you out of funks for sure.
I agree with you 100%. And to be honest with you, another thing that really, really helps me get out of my low points, and I don't think this gets said enough, bro, but I believe in God, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure, 100%, bro. Like my whole entire life, as I look back and I reflect, everything was God's plan, God's timing, bro. So that's
For
another thing
sure.
that I always keep in mind is that okay, cool. I'm struggling right now. When I come out I don't understand right now, but it is what it is. I accept it because I know when I come out the other side, I'm gonna look back and I'm be like, oh, okay, that's what that was for. You know what I mean? There it's no ducking, it's no dodging the low points in life, man. You ain't gonna never be on you ain't gonna like I said, life is a roller coaster, man. There's highs and there's lows. So I think that that's a huge part for me when it comes to kind of getting myself back to that even keel spot again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, definitely 100%. Do you think so? Another aspect of emotional intelligence is self management, right? Being able to manage your feelings and things like that in a moment. So my question for you is this: do you think when we say controlling your emotions, do you think that that means suppressing them, or do you think it's about redirecting them to something else?
Controlling your emotions for me, I would think it means like kind of just suppressing them in a sense. Like you never too high, but you never too
Mhm,
low. It's
mhm,
kind of like, and I think I'm kind of good at managing my emotions. Cause when I was a player, like, and if you knew me back then, like I know players like to score buckets and throw their celebrations. Like I
mhm,
scored three,
mhm.
four buckets in a row, and I'm back
Yeah,
on like I'm not,
yeah,
like I'm not celebrating. I'm not making a face.
for sure.
Like I always been like that, like kind of just, just like even kid. Like I always kind of been like that. But I do think it's like suppress your emotions because in reality, you are happy, like or you are sad. You know what I mean? So I guess it kind of just like when you good at managing your emotions, you just kind of like even kill.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that that's a huge thing as far as emotional intelligence is concerned. You know what I mean? Like a good example is what you just said. Like it's not only about understanding how you feel, but understanding that in like if I want my teammate to show up in the fourth, I gotta get him involved in the first. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get him involved in the first, second, third quarter if I want him to be ready in the fourth quarter when the game close. That's a huge part of emotional intelligence is understanding how what you do makes other people feel. So I definitely agree with you. I definitely think that when the term controlling your emotions, I definitely think suppressing them is one part of it. I think redirecting them is another part of it though. Like for example, I think it really just boils down to understanding. So like I said, there's different levels of anger. You know what I mean? There's frustration and then there's true anger. You know what I mean? I think understanding that will help you to kind of focus on something else besides the emotion itself and actually find the root of it all. Do you think that there are certain habits that people can perform to help them build emotional intelligence, to help them strengthen their emotional discipline? I should say.
The emotional discipline, I would think the only habit that, that I could think of that can help would just be communicate.
Yeah,
Like
I think that that's the
communicate when
most
you
important
feel,
habit.
yeah, when you feel the type of way or when you feel, but it's also about like how you communicate,
Hmm.
like just like it's the same thing with coaching. Like it's not about what you tell the players, how you tell them.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like it's the same thing as far as, your emotions. Just learning how to control, just learning how to communicate how you feel,
Hmm.
communicate what makes you happy, communicate that what you didn't like. So I think that's the biggest, most important habit. And it's funny because communication is also a successful habit. So
For sure.
it's just so I think, yeah, definitely communicate.
I think so for me, some good habits to practice are I think for me, number one, if I had to rank them, I think communication would be number one. Communicate your feelings. But I think one B for me would probably be allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to feel the feeling. and then try to understand what it is that you actually feeling, and then communicate with somebody. It ain't got to be anybody in particular. Doesn't have to be a therapist. It doesn't have to be a parent. Doesn't have to be a coach or a teacher. Find somebody who you don't mind sharing these things with, who is not going to judge you, who has nothing but good intentions for you. Find somebody like that and express your feelings. And last but not least, I think it's important to learn about different emotions, bro. Like I said, like, I don't think people realize how many different words there are for the word sad. How many synonyms there are for the word sad. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different there are so many levels between sad and depressed that people don't even really address or really understand or really take the time out to accept. You know what I mean? People think that just because I'm sad that it automatically means I'm depressed. Not all the time, bro. You could be feeling anxiety. Anxiety
Mhm.
is a synonym of sad kinda. You know what I mean? You have to be able to manage that anxiety. You have to be able to see what your triggers are that cause that anxiety before you can actually build and grow and learn how to deal with that kind of stuff. Right? Would you agree with that? Yeah. So, couple more things I want to touch on before we get ready to wrap the show up. So, a big thing about emotional intelligence is also social awareness. So, when I say social awareness, I mean like showing people sympathy and empathy. So, my first question for you is when you hear the words empathy and sympathy, what is the difference to you?
Sympathy and empathy.
Mhm.
Hold on, I might have to think on those. Empathy. So an example for me for empathy would be like you putting yourself in someone else's shoes.
For sure.
And an example for sympathy for me would be like you recognize and understand someone's pain or struggle. Like you know, you feel it. Like maybe you've been through it or seen someone go through it, or so I think sympathy would be like you kind of understand what they're going through.
Yeah. So, for me, a little bit of a deeper example for me would be so like sympathy is you sad, I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I accept that you're sad. Or you're frustrated, I accept that you're frustrated. I'm sorry that you feel that way. That's sympathy. That's being sympathetic. For me, empathy is like you said, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. You know what I mean? Really, like if you've been there before, then express to them how you truly feel, how you truly understand how they feel. You know what I mean? Be there, give them your ear to listen to. So okay, so a good example is kind of like what we talked about earlier. I know that a lot of times people just want a ear to listen. They don't necessarily want a response. So for me to sit there and be that ear for them, that's me being empathetic to them, is putting myself in their shoes. Like, okay, cool. I know that if I was in this predicament, this is how I would want to be responded to. This is how I would want somebody to react. So I definitely think that. So that's my example of the difference between sympathy and empathy. Do you feel like one is more important than the other when it comes to being a good leader?
I think that's a good question. I think empathy probably would be more important. Like, cause you can try to put yourself in their perspective. Like, I think that's the biggest part of being a leader, like to see things from multiple perspectives. Like when you're a leader, more than one person, it's like you're trying to balance personalities.
Mhm.
Everyone comes from their own culture, their own background, their own situation. Everybody's different. So like when you're leading, it's like you have to understand that you can't talk to everybody the same. Same thing as coaching. You can't coach everyone the same. Everyone is different in their own way. So, like just putting yourself in in different perspectives, I think is most important thing. Like recognizing, like understanding someone's struggle, like that's don't get me wrong, a key component too. Like that's a
Right.
good quality to have too. But if I would have just had to pick, I would definitely like think empathy is more important just for the simple fact that I can understand a situation from multiple perspectives.
I agree with you 100%. If I had to pick one, I think I would say empathy is way more important when it comes to being a good leader. Because sympathy is basically, I'm sorry that you feel that way. You know what I'm saying? That to me, that's what sympathy says. Empathy, empathy is I relate to your feelings, bro. I've been in your shoes before. I know what you feeling right now. I know what it feels like to miss the last shot. And I'm telling you right now, there's gonna be plenty more last shots that you can take. You know what I mean? I know what you feeling right now when we already did 2, 3 sets of 17s, and I'm asking you to do another one, but I'm asking you for a purpose. Trust me when I say that I've been in your shoe before, and us doing this right now is gonna reward you so much in the end. Empathy says
Yeah.
to me says way more to the people who you're leading than sympathy does.
Yep.
So, last thing before we get ready to wrap it up, when it comes to emotional intelligence, I think everything that we've talked about as far as emotional intelligence is concerned, I think that it's a very underappreciated topic of conversation. I think that more people should be talking about emotions and how to manage them. But so as we get ready to close this out, I want to talk about practical application as far as emotional intelligence is concerned. So, how do we plan to go, or how do you plan to go about, your day to day working on your emotional intelligence? So, do you think that number one, do you think that emotional intelligence has any sort of connection to how much success you can achieve in life?
I think it has to because like no one who, reached a certain level of success in life didn't have to go through adversity to get there. You know what I mean? So when you go through adversity, like you have to know how to balance, manage your emotions and whatever the adversity may be, whether it be family, whether it be health related, whatever the adversity is, I think you have to be able to balance that. If not, it's harder to reach a certain level of success. Then you have to balance so much on your plate, like so definitely like being able to communicate this emotional intelligence is a thing, but also just like, being aware of your emotional intelligence, I think is definitely a key component.
So, my thought process is that once you reach a certain level, your talent and your IQ or your skill set, once you reach a certain level, everybody at that level is more or less equal to you as far as those things are concerned. You know what I mean? Like, for example, once you get to the pros, everybody's talented. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Once you become, management at a company, everybody has a certain baseline of skills. And it comes a point in time where it's the intangibles. I think emotional intelligence is one of those intangibles. I think that, it helps build relationships with people. It helps as a motivator to your teammates. It helps as a self motivator to yourself. It helps, I mean, emotional intelligence is so important. I think that once you get to a certain level, it's more important than your skills or your talent. So I think that when it comes to practicality, actually working on these kind of things every single day, I encourage everybody to go out into the world and number one, don't stop yourself from feeling the things that you feel, man. Because if you try to bury it now, it will always, always, always come back up in the future. So my advice is always get out here and well, not get out here and just be feeling, you know what I mean? But my advice is, as you go throughout your day and as you go throughout your week and the rest of your life, it's okay to feel, man. I think that it's okay to feel. It's okay to talk to people about how you feel. So I encourage everybody to get out in the world and as you go through these type of things, communicate, man. I think that that's a huge thing when it comes to becoming more self-aware, more emotionally intelligent. That's my tip to everybody who has made it this far into the episode. What about you, coach? You got any last things that you want to send these people off with?
Man, I just want to thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you're watching this show, it's Monday. It's time to start another great week. I hope you have a great week. Get better this week. Try to evolve in whatever area. Be intentional about whatever area you want to grow in, and just keep on pushing and continue to tap in with us. Basketball season is around the corner. It's gonna be a fun
Can't
season.
wait.
We look forward to bringing you, great content as we continue to grow in this podcast era. When we will continue to grow in season two, and it's gonna be a great year. So make sure you sub, make sure you like, make sure you share with a friend, because you never know who it can help.
For sure. Last but not least, make sure you turn that noties on, man, so you get alerted every time we drop an episode. All right. And with that being said, on behalf of the Successful Habits crew, we out.
We out.